Alcohol has rapidly become a part of mainstream culture within a range of demographics across the country. Friday and Saturday nights are dedicated to consuming often high volumes of alcohol with a carefree attitude. But what many consumers don't take into consideration is that alcohol often leads to just as devastating effects as drugs. Drugs in the media are portrayed as a negative and deadly substance, despite the statistics showing that toxic effects are similar to drink. Within the public perception of drugs lays media manipulation within terms of advertising. You will see such companies as Frank displaying adverts showing how negative and bad drugs are.
Wait, you're right, lads. These puppies, especially when they're inside my head, you know. We had a chat with everyone. Hey, Jill, how are you? Everything's absolutely amazing. I haven't seen you for ages. Haven't seen you last week. I mean, you're not invited. Don't I know you? What's your name? Oh, don't tell me that. What are you laughing at? A little bit stressed, a little bit panicky, a little bit beefy, a little bit stressed. What's your name? What's your name? Okay.
The more you mess with cannabis, the more it can mess with your mind. To find out more, talk to Frank.
And then ironically, you will see buy one get one free adverts. This leads viewers to believe alcohol doesn't receive the same negative reputation, therefore is okay as opposed to drugs. However, official death estimates show that 1 in 18 people die per year from alcohol, whereas only 1 in 14,239 people die from drug abuse. The use of alcohol and drugs have been proven to be linked with a study showing that 59% of binge drinkers admitted to taking drugs within the last year, compared to 30% of non-binge drinkers. Among the largest demographic, the people that mainly abuse alcohol are teenagers, who are often out in town at night times drinking. We asked a group of teachers at Tottenham College their opinion on their students consuming alcohol the night before their lessons.
I mean, I'd prefer them not to do it, obviously, because they're not going to be concentrating as much as they should, they're not going to be as focused.
I believe you should get an early night. You should be clear thinking, you should be on the ball.
You know, these things need to be done in moderation. If somebody's drinking a lot and every night, then that would have a negative impact on their college performance.
It all depends on whether the student, again, individually can function the next day, so I suppose it's all individual. However, I think it's unusual that most pubs and clubs and things have student nights during the week and not on weekends.
I've taught a lot of young people who haven't been able to come to college and do themselves justice because they've got their social lives out of sync.
These teachers believe that consuming alcohol the night before leads to bad concentration in lesson. The statistics in this chart show that alcohol affects concentration in a bad way. To investigate this opinion, we conducted a sobriety test and an interview to show the effects alcohol has on your well-being.
I've had about 5 to 6, maybe 7 shots of sidekick. I've had like 3-4 pints of this cider. I've had 2 beers and 3 snowballs. And to be honest with you, I feel incredibly inebriated. I feel as if I'm going to pass out. I've also been sick twice, and it's only 10 o'clock.
This sobriety test was a clear fail, so this shows that it has a serious effect on your mind. We interviewed a paramedic for a professional opinion and an insight into the effect alcohol has. So how long have you been a paramedic?
I've been a paramedic for 37 years.
Do you find you have to deal with the consequences of alcohol on people a lot?
It's getting more and more so. There's always been alcohol-related incidents, but I guess over the past few years, more and more, yeah.
Roughly how many times in the past month have you had to deal with people who have drunk too much alcohol?
It's difficult to put a figure on it. Well, depends what kind of shift you're on, whether you're on an early shift or a late shift. Most of the alcohol-related incidents are on either an evening shift or a night shift. But you can go a whole shift with dealing with just alcohol-related incidents. Anyone under the influence of alcohol is deemed to be a medical emergency. It is a dangerous scenario. And they do end up in accident and emergency along with other casualties.
Have you seen any fatalities due to the consumption of alcohol?
Absolutely, yes. People involved in fights, and again under the influence of alcohol whilst driving. People climbing buildings under the influence of alcohol, thinking they can do silly things, strange things.
What do you think is the appropriate limit to put on alcohol consumption?
That's a difficult one to say really, because it affects so many different people in so many different ways. So it's very much down to the individual. but certainly within limits.
What's the typical age range of people affected by alcohol?
I've attended children as young as 10 under the influence of alcohol. And then of course you can get up to your 60 and 70-year-olds who go out, have one too many.
In moderation, drinking alcohol can be fun and do no harm at all. However, a large part of the public do not know their limits, which is a main factor in leading to binge drinking. A bottle of wine is 9 units. A shot of vodka is 0.9 units. 25 millilitres of whiskey is 1 unit. A bottle of beer is 1.7 units. A pint of cider is 2.8 units. And a glass of champagne is 1.5 units. The recommended limit for men is up to 4 units per day, and for women up to 3. We talked to Sergeant Richard Goodman for his opinion on the use of alcohol in and around Salisbury.
What age do you find that usually abuses alcohol the most?
I think you find all ages. Highest number of arrests are for young men between 18 and 25.
Have you or your team, or do you know anyone who works in the force that's ever been injured on call due to drunk behaviour from others?
You do get incidences downtown, young men fighting. When you go to break up incidents like that, people do get assaulted, do get hurt. They do have a respect for the uniform, not the individual, the uniform. However, there are some people when alcohol, drugs are mixed, they have no respect whatsoever.
Have you ever been involved in a case where the victim has experienced fatal injuries or even died from misusing alcohol?
There have been assaults, serious assaults, where victims have been intoxicated and the perpetrator has also been intoxicated.
Do you think that alcohol should be illegal or have at least stricter limits?
The way the supermarkets actually market alcohol at the moment, it's far too cheap, it's far too readily accessible. The licensing laws need to be changed slightly.
Do you believe that usage of drugs and alcohol are kind of have the same effects, or do you believe that alcohol often meets and reaches the effects that drug use does?
It's funny, isn't it? Hard drugs or whatever, we're very happy to say, yeah, that's bad, we won't touch it. But alcohol can have serious effects.
Just about to go into Alcoholics Anonymous to get more insight into the effects of alcohol. Right, so we just come out of the AA meeting and the main topic was fear and how fear overcomes the emotion, and just they address the alcoholism as a disease, and they each individually shared a story which obviously we can't express because of confidentiality, but they all briefly touched among the subjects of fear. The whole entire meeting centred around fear of life without alcohol and so on. Alcohol causes a profound amount of deaths, but also may have long-term effects on the body. Over time, the amount of alcohol consumed can cause the liver to shrivel and deform. The outside layer will turn black in colour and crumble. However, drugs have a more obvious effect on the body. The use of cocaine on a regular basis may deform the septum.